The week after that cold morning went by in a blur. Ethan barely remembered the old man outside the cafe as work took over his thoughts. The company was going through a tense phase. Rumors of layoffs floated around like storm clouds. People whispered in hallways, hushed their conversations when managers walked by, and tried to outdo one another in hopes of keeping their place safe. Ethan, being just an intern, felt the pressure heavier than most. He knew that if he couldn't prove himself now, his dream of landing a permanent position might vanish as quickly as it came. By Thursday evening, his supervisor, Ms. Carter, called the entire team for a sudden meeting. Her tone was firm, her face unreadable. "Listen up, everyone," she began. "Corporate has brought in an external consultant to evaluate team performance and workflow efficiency. He'll be reviewing each department, starting tomorrow morning. Please be prepared to present your current projects and outcomes." A wave of anxiety rippled through the room. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. He had just finished a campaign report but hadn't polished the details yet. The presentation slides still looked rough, and he knew that first impressions mattered. As the meeting ended, people rushed back to their desks, muttering complaints and worries under their breath. Ethan stayed behind, gathering his notes. "Carter," he said quietly, "who's the consultant?" She looked up from her tablet. "A senior strategist. Name's Mr. Anderson. Apparently, he's worked with top firms across the country. Corporate thinks he can help streamline things." She rolled her eyes slightly at the last word. "Just be professional, Ethan. You've got good instincts. Use them." He nodded, forcing a small smile. "I will." That night, the office slowly emptied, the fluorescent lights humming above as Ethan worked alone. Outside, snow drifted past the tall glass windows, and the city lights shimmered in soft halos. Ethan sat hunched over his desk, adjusting charts, rewriting scripts, and rehearsing how he'd present them. He imagined the consultant as a strict, cold executive who'd tear his work apart if he slipped even once. Around midnight, he finally leaned back in his chair, exhausted but satisfied. His slides were clean, his data strong, and his pitch rehearsed. Maybe, he thought, this could be his moment. The next morning, the office buzzed with nervous energy. Everyone was dressed sharper than usual, voices low, smiles rehearsed. Ethan arrived early, his heart racing as he straightened his tie and double-checked his laptop. At exactly 9 o'clock, the elevator doors opened with a soft chime. A tall man stepped out, dressed in a dark navy suit and wool overcoat. His hair was silver but neat, his presence commanding yet calm. As he walked through the room, people stood straighter, pretending to look busy. Ethan glanced up, and froze. The man looked familiar. Too familiar. He tried to dismiss the thought. No, it can't be. The man from the cafe had been wearing torn clothes, sitting on the sidewalk in the freezing cold. This man looked nothing like that, confident, composed, and elegant. Yet, those eyes, those same deep, knowing eyes. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. Ms. Carter greeted the visitor with a handshake. "Mr. Anderson, welcome. We're honored to have you." "Thank you," the man replied, his voice smooth but gentle. "Let's begin, shall we?" As the presentation started, Ethan kept glancing at him, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. When his turn came, he stood up, palms sweating, and took a deep breath. "Good morning, everyone," he began. "My name is Ethan Miller, and I'll be presenting our latest campaign strategy." As he spoke, Mr. Anderson's expression remained neutral, but his eyes followed Ethan closely, not with judgment, but with quiet curiosity. Ethan explained his ideas, his process, and the story behind his choices. The more he spoke, the more confident he became. His voice grew steady, his passion evident. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then, Mr. Anderson smiled. "Excellent work," he said softly. "You think beyond numbers, you think about people. That's rare." Ethan blinked, unsure how to respond. "Thank you, sir." After the meeting, as the team dispersed, Mr. Anderson approached him. "Ethan," he said, "walk with me." They stepped into the quiet hallway. The hum of computers faded behind them. Ethan's mind raced. He wanted to ask, "Are you the same man? Were you outside that cafe?" But the words wouldn't come. Finally, Mr. Anderson turned to him, a faint smile playing on his lips. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Ethan hesitated. It's just, I feel like I've met you before. The older man's eyes softened. Maybe you have, he said quietly. But not everyone remembers where kindness takes root. Before Ethan could reply, Mr. Anderson gently patted his shoulder. You did well today. I'll see you in my office later. There's something I want to discuss with you. As he walked away, Ethan stood frozen in the corridor, his mind spinning. He didn't have proof, but something deep inside told him he already knew the truth. The man whose life he'd touched that morning outside the cafe was now standing in front of him, testing not his work, but perhaps his heart. And this, Ethan realized, was only the beginning.